Welcome back, folks. You're watching the CBN News Channel. A new Netflix reboot of the novel series The Babysitter's Club is drawing attention for featuring a 9-year-old transgender character. The Babysitter's Club is based on the popular collection of G-rated scholastic books. The series centers around a group of adolescent girls who start a babysitting business. In the 4th episode of Netflix remake, one of the 5 babysitters, Mary Ann, is asked to care for a child named Bailey, who is presented as a girl but was biologically male. The character is played by 10-year-old transgender Kai Shapley from Texas, who was born male. Shapley's story drew attention in 2016 when the then 5-year-old's parents insisted that her child was actually a transgender girl and should be allowed to use girls' bathrooms. Joining us now is Director of PluggedIn.com, Adam Holtz. Adam, great to have you back on the broadcast. What can you tell us about the difference between the Netflix show and the original book series?
Well, the original book series was published between 1986 and 2000. There were 213 novels, and it dealt with some tough issues. It dealt with loneliness. It dealt with divorce. It dealt with some of the things that kids were dealing with at the time. But what we have with this reboot is, I think, a reflection of a very progressive agenda in terms of the way it's treating social issues like the ones you talked about at the outset, George.
Yeah. Many have said the show perhaps is too mature for the age of the audience it's targeted at. What are your thoughts on that?
I would agree with that. I have a 9 and 11-year-old daughter. And my 9-year-old found out about it and asked me, can I watch? And I said, well, honey, I don't think we're quite ready for it. It is rated G, but you need to understand that TV networks give their own ratings. And so there are lots of things that turn up here that leave me just sort of scratching my head, from references to, shows that are way beyond what kids should be watching, to one middle school girl says that, she's taking a college art class and is drawing nudes. And what it gives is a vibe of middle school girls who are wise beyond their years. And as the show progresses, we see them dealing with issues such as racism, of immigration, of climate change. And the characters here are really likable. I really like these girls, and I like the fact that the show emphasizes friendship, it emphasizes trust. There's some good things here, but I can't help but feeling that there's a deeply progressive agenda that gets packed in here into these storylines that 9 and 10 and 11-year-old kids are not really in a place to know what to do with. And not the least of them is the transgender character that you talked about, George.
Yeah. How can parents help their kids navigate the increasing exposure to these issues in media and entertainment? As you know, these are all issues that we deal with across the board. It's not like we're living back in the 70s or the 80s. We're in a different time period. How do we still address that to our kids?
Well, I think the best way to do it is to discern when it's right to have conversations about these. And that's going to depend on the maturity and the age of your kids. You may have a 10-year-old that really is willing and able to go into that conversation, but some 10-year-olds may not be ready to do that. So, I think that there's a time to say, no, this isn't quite appropriate. And depending on your kid's maturity, watch it with them. Point out, where they're dealing with these issues, and then have a conversation about it. And what that models is active engagement, that we don't have to be afraid of these things, that we have a perspective as Christians that speaks into these things, and we can be thoughtful about it. We don't have to be afraid of it. But I think what you don't want to do is think, oh, this is a nice little G-rated show about middle school babysitters, and turn your kids loose without any sense of what the issues are that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
Because then they are going to be exposed to these things without your guidance and without your help in really enabling them to think wisely and critically and biblically about the issues that the show is dealing with.
Okay, terrific. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Dad.